Welcome, everyone. I want to thank the organizers of the World Creativity and Innovation Week, who creates a forum for us where we can share and learn from each other. As everyone on this call may or may not know, it's World Creativity and Innovation Week, and it kicks off today, and there's a number of sessions that run all week until the 21st. So if you keep your eyes open, you might see some interesting sessions along the way. I'm delighted and grateful that you made the time to be here today. With the work that we are going to do today, you may want to make sure that you have access to a pen and paper to record your thoughts. The session will follow the following structure. We're going to start with just a little information sharing, and then there's a number of practical exercises that we'll do. And right at the end of the session, there will be a Q&A session. So you're very welcome to come on the air then and ask your question, or you could post your questions in the chat box anytime during the session. In preparation for the work that we'll do tonight, I would like you to allow yourself to come to the present moment in the best way you know how. Maybe recall a meditative state or a peaceful presence, or a quiet, recent moment, or even just a restful image. I will give you a moment just to settle down. For me, it always starts with the breath, taking a deep breath in and out, and another deep breath in and out. Just noticing everything around you, noticing what you see, what you hear, and you feel in this moment. Being here. That's right. Here in South Africa, it's early evening. The crisp coolness of the approaching night is a message to us that all of life and nature are slowing down in preparation for the deep rest of winter. And it's easy to remember nights like these in the wild nature of Africa in years past. Sitting next to a campfire, noticing how the spaces in the conversation becomes longer and longer until it ceases and voices become still. And all that is left is the silence of the night, the crackling of the fire, and the sounds of nature spoken through the voices of animals waking up to their nocturnal lives. With the heat from the fire on your knees and the cold of the night at your back, it is easy to surrender to deep existential questions. Why am I here? What is my purpose in this world? What is my reason for being? And even as you sit where you are, feeling supported and safe in your own home, you can allow yourself to join me next to my imagined fire on this autumn night and answer these questions for yourself. Why are you here? What is your purpose in this world? What is your reason for being? In the records of human existence, philosophers have asked these questions over and over again. Let us ask those questions of ourselves tonight and take a little voyage of discovery and see what answers lie within. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. What he so elegantly say is that if we live life to its fullest in this moment, we will have a life lived well. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius supported this, and he wrote in his meditations, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." An interpretation of these words are that sometimes we are so consumed by what is to come that we miss out on the life that we have here and now. And before you know it, it's over. The author and palliative nurse, Bronnie Ware, in her book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, listed the common regrets shared with her by patients in their last days. And I'm going to share these with you, starting with number 5 and then working up to the most important one. I wish I had let myself be happier. It is incredible that we allow ourselves to get in front of the path of our unhappiness. The next one, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Over time, as life's busyness overtakes us, it's very easy to let people go. And often years later, you regret losing that friendship, losing that connection. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. It's an interesting thought tonight when you go to bed. What have you left unsaid? I wish I hadn't worked so hard. We are so caught up in building an income, building a business, that we often neglect the really important things in life. Things like friends, things like family. And then, of course, the most important one, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And the interesting thing about this list is that the biggest regret is about not following their own path. The great teacher and mythologist Joseph Campbell said, if you can see your path laid out in front of you, step by step, you know it's not your path. Your own path you make with every step you take. That is why it's your path. Often we enter life as young people and we follow the path that a parent or a role model set for us. And somewhere along the way, we lose ourselves. And you look back and you see this path that you walked and you don't recognize it because you never designed it. So Lawrence van der Post introduced the world to the Kalahari Bushman through his writing, and he was a great authority on Bushman folklore and culture. And he described his calling to learn about and protect the Sun people. He said, I was compelled towards the Bushman like someone who walks in his sleep, obedient to a dream of finding in the dark what the day has denied him. And then he also wrote about the Bushman, and he said, the Bushman in the Kalahari Desert talk about two hungers. There's the great hunger and there's the little hunger. The little hunger wants food for the belly, but the great hunger, the greatest hunger of all, is the hunger for meaning. There's ultimately only one thing that makes human beings deeply and profoundly bitter, and that is to have thrust upon them a life without meaning. There's nothing wrong in searching for happiness, but of far more comfort to the soul is something greater than happiness or unhappiness, and that is meaning, because meaning transfigures all. Once what you are doing has for you meaning, it is irrelevant whether you are happy or unhappy. You are content. You are not alone in your spirit. You belong. When I read those words, I went back to another author that I am profoundly impressed by, Viktor Frankl, who wrote of his experience in the concentration camps of the Second World War, a little paragraph about an experience he had out in the field. And he said, "We were at work in a trench. The dawn was grey around us. Grey was the sky above. Grey the snow in the pale light of dawn. Grey the rags in which my fellow prisoners were clad, and grey their faces. I was again conversing silently with my wife, or perhaps I was struggling to find the reason for my sufferings, my slow dying. In a last violent protest against the hopelessness of imminent death, I sensed my spirit piercing through the enveloping gloom. I felt it transcend that hopeless, meaningless world, and from somewhere I heard a victorious yes in answer to my question of the existence of an ultimate purpose. At that moment, a light was lit in a distant farmhouse, which stood on the horizon as if painted there, in the midst of the miserable grey of a dawning morning in Bavaria. Now, with what's happening in the world right now, it's easy to feel that we are out of control, that our leaders and communities are failing us, that life is precarious, and above all, short. Having clear purpose creates motivation, something that feeds us hope when hopelessness envelops us. Your sense of purpose creates the life that brings meaning. Now, before we discuss the techniques I'm going to share with you tonight, let's quickly talk about intention. Intention frames your experience. And we know from positive psychology that successful change is preceded by strong positive states. For example, if we wake up in the morning and the intention that we set for our day, another blue Monday, we are going to view that day very differently from a point of view where we had the intention, I feel so good and I'm so excited what this day is going to bring to me. In most of the exercises that we will be working with this evening, we will start with intention. And it's a reminder to all of us, if we want to manage our state, if we want to create positive change in our life, the right first step is to start from positive intention. So let's explore what we'll do tonight. I'm going to teach you a very simple technique for coming to the present moment. And some of the people on this call have already experienced that technique, so this will be a nice revision for you. Then I'm going to go to a little creative technique which will allow us to engage the unconscious mind in searching out what it is that we want to create in our lives. We will then proceed to a very simple process which will allow you to develop an awareness of what your purpose might be. And then finally, we're going to have two practices, which, if you practice them, will help you and support you in living a purposeful life. A simple way to come to presence is the coach state. And this is one exercise that you cannot do too much. In the beginning, when I learned this little exercise, I learned that this was a state that I must frequently access just to acquire the habit of being present. In our busy lives, we often land in the situation where we either live in some projected future or we live in some constructed memory in the past. And that moment where our real life exists here and now often goes forgotten. The coach state is an acronym, and you can see there the meaning of the words: C for centered, O for open, A for aware, the second C for connected, and the H for holding. And I want to invite you to permit yourself to journey with me, just in a little expanded explanation of this state. So just where you are, sit back, relax, close your eyes, take a deep breath in and out, and just maintain that rhythm of breathing, knowing that the C in the coach state is for centered, that place in your body where you feel fully inhabited within yourself, as if you belong there, fully and authentically. And the O for open, open to whatever may arise. Feelings, emotions, thoughts, images. And those arise to teach us, to remind us that there are things that we need to pay attention to. Allow them. See them with curiosity. And then we get to A. The A is for aware, aware of your body, aware of your senses, aware of how you feel inside. The second C is for connected, connected to all the resources, strengths, and faculties that you possess. And not only the resources within you, but also the resources that are around you, those resources that exist to support you. And then we come to the H, which is for holding the space, the safe space within which you are the best version of yourself, and a safe space for all of those who you invite and welcome into it. And then just take a final deep breath in and out, and just allow yourself to settle in this moment. That's right. Welcome to the present moment. There's an old story of a man on a horse, anxiously holding on for dear life while the horse is in full sprint. And as they thunder past a neighbor standing on the side of the road, the neighbor yelled and said, "Where are you going?" And the rider shouts back, "I don't know, ask the horse." And this is how it sometimes feels if you are living a life without a clear purpose. When people start talking about purpose, you often hear comparisons like compass or the North Star, or on the occasion that you are in South Africa, the Southern Cross. And what all of these metaphors have in common is that it gives you a sense of direction. And if you follow it, it will lead you to a destination. About 2 years ago, the quest to find my life purpose suddenly became a topic of great interest to me. And it wasn't as if I was drifting rudderless across a vast ocean, but I felt the urge to find something meaningful about the direction of my life. And as this urge grew, I found myself reading, writing, talking to others, and brainstorming obsessively around the topic of purpose. And an insight that came to me in the middle of this perfect storm of ideas and curiosity was this: the great work of your life is finding the path to your real purpose, and that your ultimate expression of creativity is to design a life of meaning. And Joseph Campbell said it best: life has no meaning. Each of us has meaning, and we bring it to life. It is a waste to be asking the question when you are the answer. And one interpretation I took from that is that life in itself is meaningless except for the meaning that we create ourselves. So, at the very least, the meaning that we attach to our experience of life is under our control. The psychiatrist David Viscott, in his book Finding Your Strength in Difficult Times, a book of meditations, states that the purpose of life is to discover your gift. The work of life is to develop it, and the meaning of life is to give it away. He very neatly summarizes for us our creative journey to purposeful living. Discover your purpose, develop your purpose, live your purpose. And I'm going to ask you, while you're sitting there, to maybe just pick up your pen and on a piece of paper, just complete the following sentence for yourself using less than 10 words. And this part of the sentence that I'm giving you for free is this: it's my true life purpose to. Just write down that sentence and complete it. Don't even think about it and just see what comes out. I will give you a moment. No more than 10 words. So I'm going to ask you to just wrap up that sentence and look at that. There you have a purpose for your life. Can it be that simple? Let's explore this a little more. In my experience, the simpler your life purpose is, the closer you move towards it. I've worked with a number of corporate players, and they always want to try and write this incredibly complicated description of what their purpose in life is. And almost always they are disappointed by the fact that they can't pursue that. A very simple life purpose is: it is my true life purpose to be happy. It is my true life purpose to help others. It is my true life purpose to bring love into this world. Let's do a little exercise. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain this exercise first, and then I'm going to facilitate you through this at the end of each iteration. And we're going to go through this 3 times. At the end of each iteration, I'm going to ask you to just write down a note or an impression. The first step in this exercise is just to set intention. And I don't know what your intention is, but my intention is I'm really curious and interested to see what you will learn and see from this exercise. And then, knowing what your intention is, just sit for a moment and just think back to the coach exercise that we did a few minutes ago. And just remember what that is like. And just take a deep breath in and out. And I want you to complete for yourself the following sentence without even thinking about it. What I most want to create in my life is, and write that down. Or just hold it in your thoughts. And if you think about this thing that you want to create, what is an image or a color that goes with that? And if there was a movement or a gesture that expressed that thing, what would it be? And it could be something as simple as just a feeling in your body somewhere. Where in your body are you feeling this? And then just breathe in that creation, that image, that movement, that feeling, and let it settle in your body. And let's do it again. What I most want to create in my life is, and the image or the color that goes with that is, and the movement, a gesture, or a feeling that goes with that is. And just breathe that in and let it settle in your body. And let's do it once more. What I most want to create in my life is, and an image or a color that goes with that is, and a movement, a gesture, or a feeling that expresses that is. And just breathe all of that in. All of those creations, all of those images, all of those movements and feelings. And just let it settle in your body. And take a deep breath in and let it out. And this is just a very simple technique that allows you to have a conscious appreciation of what it is that you want, but also to bring the body and the unconscious mind into this thing that you want to create in your life. And I hope that since you had 3 iterations of this, you found 3 new things that you would love to create in your life. Or if you only found one, I hope that that image, that color, those feelings intensified each time you thought of it. A popular representation of the quest to find purpose reduces it to 4 basic questions. And those questions are, what does the world need? What is it that you love to do? What is it that you can do well? Or what is it that you are very good at? And then the last one, how can others reward you? It's a simple process that allows thinking on the clues of what your purpose might be. The image on the right is an image that appears in many articles and publications, both in print and across the internet. And having it as a visual image, the questions almost appear as if the reader can choose the order in which to answer them. Now, I like to do it in a very specific order, and it's the order that I've listed on this slide that you can see. And I've done that for a very specific reason, because it eliminates the option to start with the question that most people are immediately drawn to. What can you be rewarded for? Because the moment you use that question as the very first question, you limit the possibility of what your purpose could be. Because then you only see it in terms of the rewards that you can get. Let's work through the questions in the order that I like to do it. I always start with, what does the world need? And that question carries with it 2 implications. The first implication is that there exists a world which has a need. And that world may be the world as we experience it right now, or it may be a world of your choosing, a world that you want to be a part of becoming. You can almost think of it as a world that you create. And on the surface, that might sound like madness, but you can decide who you want to work with. You can decide where you want to work. You can decide what community you want to be a part of. And by making those decisions, you actually create the world that you want to be a part of. And of course, the second implication is that this world, whether it's the world that you exist in right now or the world that you want to create, needs things, needs skills, services, or gifts that only you can provide. And the real magic is in figuring out what those things are. Then we get to the next question. What do you love to do? And another way to phrase this can be, if there were no constraints on you, how would you choose to spend your time? And this question is about those things that draws you in. The things you love to do, whether it's the things you love to do in your personal life or in your business life. It's things that you are passionate about, or something that simply brings you enjoyment or deep meaning. And then we get to the next question. What are you really good at? Now, over time, we build skills and capabilities. And some of those turn out to be strengths, things that we can do better than our peers. And it's those kind of activities that others could potentially rely on you to do for them. And then finally, how can others reward you? Now, the first incarnation of this diagram that I saw had the question, what can others pay you for doing? But not everyone attaches meaning and reward to money. I've created an incarnation of that question that deals with reward. And substituting the word money with reward suggests that you receive in return something that has value to you, which may have a monetary value or not. Using this 4-question process is not a definitive Q&A kind of process, but it's an exercise in building your awareness about what the essential things are that will set your soul alight. And once you've cycled through the 4 questions, you may revise your purpose statement. And you'll go back to that sentence, it's my true life purpose too. And guess what? Then you cycle through those questions again. And as they say, rinse and repeat. By working through these 4 questions iteratively, you will over time develop a purpose statement that has meaning for you. And it's very important to understand that purpose is something that is emergent. The more you shine the light of your mind on figuring out what your purpose is, the more you will learn, and over time, it will emerge. And over time, it will change, because as human beings, we change over time. And what's important is that there will be a day where you write your purpose statement down and you say, that's me. That is what creates meaning for me. And even as you clarify your understanding of what your purpose is, allow yourself to live in a way that you continuously move towards that purpose. I've run a couple of these workshops over the last 2 years, and I often run into people that says, but I don't have a purpose. And then my next question inevitably is, do you want to have a purpose? And if they say no, I will say to them, that's perfectly okay. Not everyone has this urge for deeper meaning. And often someone says to me they don't know their purpose. They want to find out their purpose, but they don't even know where to start. And then, a little bit tongue in cheek, what I often say to them, just pick someone else's purpose. And it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but if you pick someone else's purpose and you start living your life according to that purpose, you're very quickly going to see what doesn't fit. You're quickly going to start finding out, well, this is not who I am. And just that awareness is already a step in the right direction. But then, of course, the sooner you allow yourself to start living a purposeful life, the sooner you are going to get all of the benefits of meaning, of joy, and fulfillment. And it is not necessary to work on the perfect purpose. Just live it anyway. Learn from it. I want to just briefly start talking about two practices for purposeful living. But before we do that, I want you to, just as you are sitting where you are, just pick up your pen or you can work this out in your own mind. Let's just step through these questions. What we've done up till now is you've done a little bit of an exercise where you wrote down, my true life purpose is. And then we created another layer of rational and unconscious thinking. What I most want to create in my life is. And now what I want you to do is to just write 2 or 3 answers to each of these questions. And let's start with the first one. What is it that the world needs that you can provide? And if you think about it, what is it that you absolutely love to do? And it doesn't matter if it's a personal thing or a professional thing. What is it that just sets your soul alight? When you do it, it's almost like time disappears. And then just write down for me 2 little things about what is it that you are extremely good at. Other people admire you for this. Other people rely on you to do this. And then the last question, what can you be rewarded for? What is it that people will either pay you for or give you the encouragement or the support or the honor of, in whichever way you feel rewarded? What is the method in which people can give you gratitude that makes you feel good about yourself, that makes you come fully alive? And just write down 1 or 2 things. And then almost take a mental step back and look at what it is that you see in front of you. And notice, are there any relationships between what the world needs and what you think your purpose is? Is there any relationship between what it is that you love to do and what the world needs? And of course, what you see your purpose to be. And how does what you are good at relate to what you love and what the world needs? And ultimately, having seen all of that, what is it that you can be rewarded for by living this purpose? This is an exercise that preferably should be done over days, if not weeks, if not months. So it took me a full year and a half before I wrote down a purpose that resonated with me. And it makes me think of the story about the student who approached his teacher and he said to his teacher, "Well, can you tell me what purpose is about?" And his teacher says, "Well, meet me tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock and I'll show you." And the next morning at 6 o'clock, the student was up waiting for his master and they went for a walk. And they walked and they approached the middle of the day and they stopped and they rested and then they walked. And then in the middle of the afternoon, they arrived at a river. And all around the river, there were people panning for gold. And the teacher gestured at them. He says, "That is purpose." And the students said, "Well, I don't understand." He said, "Well, it's very simple. Here you've got all these people panning for gold. Now, some of them will pan and they'll almost immediately pan enough gold to be rich for the rest of their life. There's others that pan for years and then they find a deposit and they can also leave those gold panning behind and go and live their life beyond. And then you get people who just work at this for years and years and years and they just never get anything. And that's what purpose is like. So I guess what that story tells you, I'm sort of in that middle group. I actually had to work for almost a year and a half before I wrote down the first purpose that really resonated with me. But we might even have one or two people in this group that immediately just wrote down something that they know sets their soul alight. The next part of this is just two simple practices that I've adapted from the Stoic tradition. And these practices are designed to help you live a purposeful life. And like any habit, this is a difficult habit to acquire, but it's a very simple one. And it starts with a morning meditation. When I talk about a morning meditation, I am not referring to the Eastern meditation or schools of meditation. I'm simply talking about finding a space for yourself where you can do some quiet thinking on your own. And the process is very simple. It starts with entering the coach state, just coming to that moment of presence. And you don't have to use the coach state. You can find any way of coming to presence that works for you. And then the second step is to set an intention. How do you want to frame your day? And then the third part of this is just two simple questions. The first question is, what will I accomplish today? What is that one or two things or three things that I want to accomplish today? And then we get to the important question. How will accomplishing these things support or move me towards my purpose? And this is an exercise that you can complete within 5 to 10 minutes. And then go and embrace the day and see what it brings to you. And then we have the second part or the second exercise. And this is an evening reflection. And once again, it's about finding a space where you can sit down, have some quiet time on your own, where you can gently come to presence set your intention for the exercise, and then reflect on your day. And what's really important about the evening reflection is not about beating yourself up. It's about learning from a positive state of mind. And you can reflect on questions like the following: did I do my best today? Because we know doing your best is good enough. No one can do better than their best. Did I use my time wisely today? Did I treat other people well? Was I the role model for others that I want to be? Here's an important one. I love thinking about this one. Did what I did today give me more time tomorrow? So it's about reflecting on, am I doing the smart things so that I'm creating more time for myself in the future? And then again, we get to the really important ones. How did what I accomplished today serve my purpose? Because you might have started with an intention in the morning and things you wanted to accomplish, and then your day takes another path. But that doesn't mean that that was a wasted day, because the other path that you walked may still serve your purpose. And it's necessary for you to see that. And then the last question, I always end my reflection with this one. If I could have today over again, what 3 things could I do to make it even better? And that gives you the growth that you're looking for to make tomorrow a better day than today. I really hope that you work on your life purpose, and even more, I really hope you find it, because we all deserve lives filled with joy, with happiness, and fulfillment. In conclusion, I want to leave you with a couple of things that you might want to practice beyond this session. For today, go out and look at the world with fresh eyes. Look at it from the point of view as you've never seen this before. Allow yourself to be awed and surprised by something in the world that you are now seeing with new eyes. And notice how just your statement of purpose, even though it might be a first iteration of many iterations, just start noticing how your purpose is focusing you and uncovering opportunities for you. And then tonight, wherever tonight is going to be for you, just take a few minutes and journal. Go and write down or go through those 4 questions. And then allow yourself every day just 5 to 10 minutes in the morning and 10 to 20 minutes in the evening to meditate, to reflect, and to revisit your purpose. So, in conclusion, I thank you very much, and I hope our paths cross again very, very soon.